Good evening. My name is Andy Michaud, and welcome to Taking It Back to the Streets, episode number 4. I'm going to continue my discussion with John Murray from the Waterbury Observer. He was gracious enough to come in and sit down with me to talk to the people out there and express his opinions on various issues. John, welcome back.
Thank you. I feel like I was just here.
You were just here because we just had a great show about the Palace Theater, and we're going to keep talking not about the Palace, but about some other issues. And I know that you wanted to talk about the Hispanic movement in the city of Waterbury. Why don't we get into that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's very fascinating that I've watched the Hispanic resurgence or the Hispanic surge in the city for much of the last 15 years. And a lot of it started when Victor Cuevas was elected as a state rep in the 75th District. And Geraldo Reyes Jr. was his campaign manager, and Geraldo worked in the mayor's office. So here's the first Hispanic to work in City Hall in the mayor's office was Jerry. First Spanish speaker, which is remarkable. There's like 35% of the city or 40% of the city is Spanish speaking. And so Jerry was the first guy to get in there. And so these guys, they started a movement. And they got Cuevas elected, and I remember talking to Mayor O'Leary. He said he felt the Hispanics coming. He goes, it said it reminded him of the Irish like decades ago, organizing and starting to hit the streets, and there was a hunger as the Italian and Irish communities were kind of diluting and losing some of that hunger. He felt Hispanic leadership was coming. And he actually went on a radio show and said he believed that following him might be an Hispanic mayor. And so at the time, it was probably Victor Cuevas as the guy, because he's the state rep. So Victor screws up, ends up falsifying a mortgage loan, ends up resigning, publicity all across the state. It was embarrassing for him, and he resigns. And Geraldo Reyes runs for his position. Actually, Geraldo, in this whole mix of Victor and his getting snarled with his mortgage, Jerry got pulled into a little bit by loaning Victor some money. And Victor ends up resigning. Jerry is forced out of the mayor's office, and so the two of them, the two guys that were the leaders of the Hispanics, Victor Cuevas and Jerry Reyes, they're both out on the streets now. They're out of power. And so Jerry immediately comes right back into power. He's elected with like 90% of the vote to replace Victor Cuevas. Then he becomes the state rep. So Jerry's the state rep. Cuevas is working in the Parks Department for the city of Waterbury. And he worked for years. And Cuevas was still a political animal. He did political consulting work. He helped run some of Jerry's campaigns. Brilliant guy at campaigning. And he's right now just a force of nature in the city of Waterbury as he's helping the Republicans. He's morphed from Democrat to Republican, which I'll get into in a second. But he is a very powerful man and just very focused, very motivated. He's signing up hundreds and hundreds of new voters to the Republican Party. He's pulling many Hispanics from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. He's really he's making a splash in what this campaign that's going on right now. But with all this stuff going on, is like, so Cuevas was a Democrat, Reyes is a Democrat. Here comes Nelson Roman, he's a Democrat. And there's like this power thing going on. They're rising up. And when O'Leary was announced he was stepping down, he picked out two people he said that he saw as the potential next mayor. One was Jerry Reyes, and one was Paul Pernaruski. So out of the mayor's mouth, he's saying this is a dogfight between these two guys. And Jerry hadn't even announced he's running. And he ended up with prostate cancer. He never ran for mayor. I think he would have, that would have been a pretty powerful showdown between Reyes and Pernaruski in a Democrat primary to replace O'Leary, but it didn't happen. But Paul has been eyeing Jerry Reyes. He feels his energy. He feels his energy in the city. And for some reason, the established Democrat Party views Jerry Reyes as a threat, that he's coming, like he's going to come next election. And he's just living his life, you know. He's not campaigning to be the next mayor. Maybe he will someday, but he's not now. And so Victor Cuevas, then in all this stuff going on, Cuevas gets in trouble again, doing some consulting work. He signs some documents. He's arrested. He ends up several months in jail. And with all the political chicanery that goes on, it's like Victor tripped over his shoelace. It's like it was not a very serious, not a huge thing what he did, but he was nailed. He was nailed, and he's thrown into federal prison. He comes out, he loses his job for the city, so he's out. So he goes off. Mayor O'Leary, they fire him from his position for Public Works, or for Recreation Department, and now he's pissed off. He comes out, he doesn't have his job. This is a man fired up. He's fired up, and he wants some element of revenge. He wants revenge. He wants back in the game. He ends up morphing over and becoming a Republican, and he's helping Dawn Marano. He's helping these Republican alderman candidates right now, and he's the biggest force in this election right now that's going to be in a couple weeks. This man is working harder than anybody else, multiple times harder than anybody else. You drive by Republican headquarters, day or night, there's him sitting in the office. He's taken campaigning to a different level, making videos and movies and songs, doing AI stuff. He's a threat to power, Victor Cuevas. And he is going wild right now. And as he's going wild, he's also pulling in his wake is Jerry Reyes is getting pulled into there. Even though Jerry Reyes is over here by himself, minding his own business, these two guys were best friends for decades. And so now the political power views these guys are in cahoots. So Jerry ends up as like persona non grata to the power. He's the threat over there. Is he running? Is he going to challenge? Is he this? Is he that? And he's just, cheering on the Dallas Cowboys and going about his business as a state rep. He's not paying attention to all this stuff. But it's gotten very complicated now here's Nelson Roman that we were just talking about. He is stepping into the fray, and Jerry has helped lift him up and put him on the 5th District, made him the 5th District aldermanic candidate. So Jerry Reyes is the head of the 5th District, put Nelson Roman there, and picked off an incumbent Democrat, which then makes Jerry more an outlier over here. So there's all this crazy dynamics going on with the Hispanic. They're not cohesive. They're not all pulling in the right direction, in the same direction. I don't know what the right direction is, but Cuevas is he's recruiting scores of Jerry's supporters, and Jerry's workers are now Republicans. So Cuevas has pulled them into the Republican camp. And so this is the drama that's going to go on Election Day. A lot of it's Victor Cuevas. It's Victor Cuevas trying to get back at power for he believes doing him a wrong, and here comes Nelson Roman as a thorn in power's side. And so here's the Hispanics. They're coming, but they're coming in different directions with different agendas, and they're not all working together. Nelson's not he's not in lockstep with Jerry. He's not in lockstep with Victor. He's his own guy, but it's this perception that they're all coming and challenging power. So that's like a backstory of this election.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are coming in power, and I've known Victor Cuevas for over 30 years. He was a director at the South End Rec. I remember when we had the baseball team, the Waterbury Spirit. I was involved with them. I got some advertising through my newspaper through the Waterbury Spirit, and we came up with an idea of Hispanic Heritage Night at the stadium. And Victor was one of the driving forces to bring as many kids as possible into that stadium, which he did, and it was raining that day. And we still had the largest crowd that the Waterbury Spirit ever had. And that just showed you the capability of Victor Cuevas. And, you know, like he told me, he says, Andy, I've been doing this for so many years, and all these little kids, they're all grown up now, voting age, and a lot of these kids he's recruiting to become registered voters. And, you know, I've known of his past trouble. He's explained all the other side of all his problems that he's had over the years. And, you know, it's if you look at two sides of a coin, you might get a different perception of what's going on. And I think what they did the last election was he got arrested and went to jail before the last mayoral election for what you were just saying is because they feared Jerry. And Victor is the main guy to bring the vote out, and he could have done that if Jerry was elected. So Victor got arrested for what you were just talking about. They put him in jail during that election, except the problem that they have now is they didn't put Victor in jail long enough. They did not put this guy in jail long enough because now he's out and he's basically a rabid dog. I mean, he has blood on his mind and he's thirsty for it. And he's a mover and shaker. He's going to make things happen in this city.
Victor Cuevas is a dangerous man to the power in this city right now. He's challenging power ferociously. And the odds are against him. You know, the Republicans are still the amount of registered Democrats versus registered Republicans is still a staggering difference. It's like 3-1. And there's almost equal number of independents out there now too. But he's shifting. The Republicans have been, since Phil Giordano was arrested, the Republicans were almost defunct for 15 years. They couldn't get a pulse going. They couldn't do anything. And Dawn Marano did very well in the last election, and it was a very close election between her and Paul Pernaruski. And she's actively on the scene now. She's a voice rabble-rousing with her Facebook Live thing. She's staying in the game. I don't always agree with the style which they go after, but that's her style, and it's her format and her forum, but I commend her for sticking her nose in there and not going away, you know. So she's to do this every week and keep pounding the drum, and there's more eyes looking at what she's doing, and so there's life in the Republican Party again. And so can they win a couple seats on election day? Can they win? They believe they're going to win the board, which would be, I don't know about that, but anything different is good. Any change, that there's all these crazy dynamics too, is that, so the Democrats, the mayor needs 11 votes to move a big bond forward. A big bonding package.
Supermajority.
Yeah, it needs a supermajority. And there can only be 10 Democrats that's the most that can be elected. So they would need at minimum one Republican. But now if there's 10 Democrats, say the Democrats win their 10 seats, one of them is Nelson Roman, who's independent. He's not just going to say check. So now you need 2 votes to get to that supermajority.
And McCarthy, who's running with Nelson, might side with Nelson, so that'd be 2 they'd lose. They'd be down to 8.
Possibly. You know, there'd be unbelievable pressure on that woman from City Hall, and if it came down to her, like, she's a lovely lady, but she's not like Nelson. Nelson is fearless, and he's very outspoken, and he doesn't care. Like, he'll step right into the fire. But then, so the Democrats are fighting ferociously to keep George Nugent in place, and because he has been voting with the Democrats and helping pass this stuff. So O'Leary and many of the Democrat leadership has helped finance his campaign. They want George Nugent to get
They went
reelected.
to his fundraiser. They all went.
Yeah, they all went. Why? Because that's one of the votes. They need him. So if they get him, they still need another vote. And so they're sitting there doing the math about how to move big packages forward. And it's good if they don't have the 11 votes like in their pocket. Then it's just, okay, this is what we want, moving on down the road. You want to have negotiations and agitation and discussion about stuff. So this is the first time that in a decade that alderman by district might actually have a shot of changing the dynamic a little bit.
Well, I think so, because I know in the Republican primary where we just had, every district was primaried out of the 5 districts. There was primary in every one of them, and in the first district which was probably the most hotly contested, other than the 4th where George Nugent is, in the first district, and Victor told me they worked so hard on that district because they didn't want Mary Grace Cavallo because she always voted with the Democrats. That's what they say. And then
She got picked off, right?
She got picked off, and Amanda Nardozzi, who's involved with Neil O'Leary, and her husband's the head of WDC or whatever the name of the agency is now.
Yeah.
And so each of them got about 100 votes, and the big winner in the first district got 250 votes. And speaking to Victor the next day, I mean, he was so excited, and he told me in the first district in the south end, that section, I forget if it's 1-3 or whatever it is, he said the last election, that's when Cavallo ran a primary, and that district had 12 Republican voters the last election. He told me this time they had 97.
That's awesome.
That's a major impact. And like Victor told me, he said his people are mainly Democrats.
Yeah.
And he said they screwed up when they drew up these districts. They left him the south end. And if he could pull those votes out, the Republicans might take 2 seats in the first district instead of the usual 1 by default. So there's a big possibility here that come election day that you may see 5, 6 Republicans elected. You're guaranteed 5, guaranteed. So if they could pull 1 out of the first district, an extra one, and have 6 with possibly 2 Democrats, Nelson Roman and McCarthy, you would have 8. The wild card is George Nugent. Is he going to continue to supposedly vote with the Democrats all the time? Who knows? If there's enough pressure put on him, say, George, you got to be accountable for your votes here. You keep voting for these things with these people, and it looks like they're turning bad one after the other, that you need to be held accountable. So there's a possibility here that you could see a swing where the mayor is in control of the Board of Aldermen.
Well, I think Mayor O'Leary, I know for sure, he would take it personally if I were challenging the way the aldermen voted or championing aldermen by district. It would rankle him. You know, it was like I was coming after him personally. And Paul, I think a little bit the same. It's like, it's not personal. It doesn't matter who the mayor is. The system is broken. It's broken and hasn't served the people well. Just like the Palace Theater we're just talking about, it's not serving the people of Waterbury. And so it needs to, like we took a major step forward back when Alderman by District passed, but now we have to take another step forward. And if you get a few just independent-minded people that are not afraid to ask questions, and if they want to vote their conscience, they vote their conscience. It's not just yes, whatever you tell me, yes.
That's all it is.
And so you get a couple people in there, democracy starts to change in Waterbury. And it's taken a lot longer than I thought, but it will take someone in the mayor's seat, and it's not Paul, it'll take somebody in the mayor's seat to open the process up. So someone has to actually campaign to open the process up to let the people in a little bit more. And you have to let go of some of that power. And that's your legacy, is that you're altering the system. And so somebody has to be brave enough and courageous enough to allow that to happen. And mostly it's just self-interest right now. This isn't Paul's self-interest or Neil O'Leary's self-interest not to empower the aldermen. Why do you want someone in your face asking you questions? I think Ned Lamont would probably not want anybody asking him questions. Donald Trump would want nobody asking him questions. But that's not the way it works. You're supposed to ask questions.
Well, that's the way it works in Waterbury, and that's the way it's been working, and that power leads to money. And that's all this is about, is money, controlling the deals. I mean, somebody told me years ago that if you came to Waterbury and wanted to make money, for you to make $1, they would have to make $3. It's got to go through their filter. And if you look at all these deals, they're all individual deals. Holland Hughes, the guy that did Holland Hughes, he's doing the Oddfellows. Same guy. The guy that's doing the Oddfellows, he's doing St. Mary's, buying those buildings. It's the same guy, same type of deal, one after the other. And it's not really for the benefit of Waterbury. They say it is, but it's really not. It's for their own personal gain. That's what it's all about, and that's all it's been. So you just have these, it's like throwing something on the floor, and wherever it scatters, it scatters. They're not building blocks to build upon each other. And that's what they're doing now. So, you know, to go after that power, you're going after the money. And to go after the money, you're going to have another group of rabid people, which I say, great. That's what we need. Let them all go at it. Let's flush it out. Put it out in the open. Let's flush it out. And the people have been shortchanged in this city for so long, and they do the very, very bare minimum in the city to keep it running. There's no foresight. There's no thought. I know when I was doing my, ran for alderman, I was bringing a lot of stuff up in Fulton Park. Next day, they're patching holes. They're digging up the sidewalk that they just fixed because they made a mistake, bringing it out into the open, and that's what needs to happen. And I think with the new Board of Aldermen that you're going to start seeing that.
That would be a step forward, no matter who's elected. If there's independent Democrats that get on there, Republicans, you just need people that are not afraid to challenge. And historically, if like when Phil Giordano was the mayor, all the Republicans are saying yes, and all the Democrats are saying no. So it's just yes, no, yes, no. It's you already know how the vote's going to go, and so that's not what we want either. Is you want actual discussion, and people voting, and voting back for their constituents, voting for their neighborhoods, going back to the people, and having more people involved in the process than the 2 or 3 that show up at aldermanic meetings giving a speech every meeting. You want new faces in there, new people talking, your neighbor saying, I have wood in my yard and I can't get rid of it. Like, let her come to the Board of Aldermen. Then watch that get taken care of. Or there was this guy who ran for mayor back in 2005, Tommy Tremaglia. And he was an alderman. And I was interviewing him. He's running for mayor. And I said, okay, if you're elected, what would be one of the first things you do? He goes, I'll tell you exactly the first thing I would do is I would have an office for the alderman. So I'd have a couple staff members for the alderman. I'd have an office for the alderman. He said, I didn't even get a number 2 pencil, and I'm an alderman. I have no support. I have, like, you look at what the state legislators have, the state senators have, what the congressman has, like 8 people working in the office, supporting them, helping them understand what's going on. And if we want the aldermen to do a better job, we need to train them and support them so that they can be informed. Larry DePillo used to go around and he would go into the department by department and say, I want to see your files. And Brussels, Larry's here, you know, and he
hide.
He was aggressive. He was doing watchdog work. And he was an independent maverick. He would swing for the fence. Sometimes he would whiff. But a lot of times he said some great stuff. And he cared. He cared and he was asking the questions. And so that's what you want from aldermen. So I'm sorry you didn't become an alderman.
I'm not. It would have been brutal. I mean, like I said, I didn't run for alderman to be an alderman. I ran for alderman to get the Palace Theater opened up, and it wasn't meant to be that way. And we're going to do it another way, which is sit here, talk about it, and make something happen. But you know, we can only hope that things are going to change in the future. Well, not hope. We got to make them change.
Yeah.
And you get a few pit bulls, Victor, Nelson. I'll join the pack, maybe a few other people, and really start flashing the flashlight around and putting it on issues that need to be brought out into the open and force change.
Yeah, and I think flashing the flashlight it's important, at least in my between my years, is to do it civilly, not personal attacks, not punking people, because then it just gets
Personal.
Yeah, it gets personal, and that's what's happening right now. It's getting personal. If Victor has one glaring weakness right now, it's that he's doing all this powerful stuff, but it's really personal, some of the stuff that he's doing. And he steps over the line. And he steps over the line and gets himself in some trouble with stuff. You don't need to do that. It's just stick with the issues. And we don't need to attack Frank Tavera. It's like attack the performance or criticize the performance or say, like, not only just point out that this is an issue, what can be the solution? So we can just sit here and criticize and criticize. How can you do this differently? Well, there's a lot of models how to do it differently. There's other theaters that are doing it differently. So there's ways to do this, and maybe we wrap all this up by going back to how do we have a referendum?
It's a lot of work.
Margaret Boisford did it.
Yeah, she had an army of people. Larry and all his people. That's how it worked. I mean, one person, myself, or somebody else. I mean, we'll have to look into it, though. That's a possibility.
So you just have to get a number of signatures.
What that number is, I don't know.
Well, that's where my...
Hey, you know what'd be a good idea?
What?
To get signatures for a referendum? Do it on election day. All the voters come in and could you sign this, could you sign this, could you sign this? Doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent. Huh, might have to look into that, John Murray. Al, we're going to cut this off at a half an hour. I think we're getting close. 3 minutes. 1 minute. All right, John. Well, another great show. Glad to have you back. I'd like to do this again in the future, bring you in maybe during the election.
Yeah, well, I will say in the last 30 seconds is I know a lot of stuff in the 32 years. I've heard a lot of stories. I've been up close to Power. I've been followed Power around, done some intense stories about him. My nose is not as plugged into this scene as it once was. I still know a lot of stuff. A lot of information still comes to me, but I'm not covering this. I'm not waking up saying, you know, what's going on with the alderman race. I'm watching. I'm reading and feeling.
You're an observer.
Yeah,
You're an owl up in a tree.
Yeah, that's me right here, the owl.
You're the owl.
The owl in the tree. But I do have very strong ability to observe and to understand it through history of 3 decades.
Well, I think that needs to be brought out. I mean, I really do. I mean, that's what I said in the beginning. You have a lot of, you have your pulse on the city of Waterbury for the last 32 years, and you have a good perspective. It's good to bring that out publicly. I know you do it on the radio, you do it on the internet. Try to get you to come down here once in a while, and I think we could have fun with it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, John Murray, once again, thanks for coming on. This is a shortened edition of Taking It Back to the Streets. I want to thank everybody for watching. Next week, we're going to try to have Nelson Roman, also known as Rafael Feliciano. Try to have him on in the very near future. And I want to thank you all for watching Taking It Back to the Streets. Thank you.